You're listening to Selling the Dream. This isn't an interview, and we're not journalists, but each week we'll ask our guests to open up and share their secrets to business success. Let's have a conversation and have some fun.
Other thing I've heard is that you've succeeded in building your brand if someone could dress up as you for Halloween and everybody would know who it was. Dream, the podcast for sales, entrepreneurs, and leaders. One of the cool things about this podcast is that sometimes we get all three in one guest. And today we absolutely have that. I am joined today with Will Holder of the William Holder Realty team with Real of Pennsylvania. And I am excited because I have so many questions to ask. And hopefully, if you're listening, your curiosity, is the same as mine. So Will, thank you very much for hanging out with us today.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me on.
I say us because normally I'm joined by my co-host, Joe Iredell, who's in California, but today he is in some sort of an MMA jiu-jitsu fight or something. I really don't know. He's got a fight today, so he couldn't make it. But God willing,
awesome.
he's out there winning that fight. He's not getting his ass whooped. Who knows? So Will, I would love for you to kind of, you were on a podcast, Realtor. What's the name of Sam's podcast? I want to give her a plug. You know the name of it? Realtor Mama podcast.
I believe that's what it's called. Yeah.
She's the best. I was listening to her podcast. You were on there. And one of the things that really struck me was your origin story, like where you came from. So if it's cool, I'd love to just kind of share with us your backstory.
Sure. Yeah. So I moved to America in 2002. I grew up in the Caribbean, a little country called Trinidad. It's Trinidad and Tobago, but I grew up on the island of Trinidad. And it was a great place to grow up. I mean, as far as I knew, what else do you know when you're living there? So
Sure.
I spent my first 14 or 15 years there. And then we chose to migrate to America. Growing up, I watched my mom work a lot because she was a single mom for the majority of that time, and had a lot of family. We were very close, kind of built the foundation for how I feel about things just in terms of community. Now from that, I think that's where a lot of the way we run our business, the way I feel about friends and family comes from just my upbringing there in the Caribbean. But a lot of it was built on seeing my mom work really hard and having to every day and not really complaining, just having to do what she had to do to make it work.
What did she do for a living?
So believe it or not, she was a truck driver, and not in the sense of these giant trucks you see here, but she did that for quite some time. And it was pretty, looking back on it as an adult, you think, man, like how, how did she pull that off? You respect it. When we moved here, we didn't have much either. And you don't know, you don't know what you don't know. Right. And as a 14, 15-year-old moving to a new country, you don't know that many people living in a 1-bedroom apartment or being on, assistance was a downside to anything. But looking back on it now as an adult, I'm like, man, we really made it work somehow.
Yeah. How many people were in this apartment?
So there was about 8 of us in a 1-bedroom apartment.
8. So who is it? You, your mom?
It's me, my mom, my sister, my brother, my mom's husband at the time, which was my brother's dad, his mom, his sister, and her daughter. And to us, I mean, look, coming from where I grew up, we had our own house. My granddad built his house. We lived in it. We all had our own rooms. Life was good. To that, I don't know if at the time I really saw it as a negative.
Wait, so you guys lived in a house in Trinidad where there was still 8 of you, but you all had your own rooms. It must have been a big house.
Yeah, it was a nice sized house. Actually, part of me getting into real estate involved that house because my granddad left that for me. And when he passed away when I was 5 years old, my mom over time converted it to a 3-unit building, which is kind of what got me into real estate investing. But we had a big house and it was a nice house. It was really well taken care of and cared for. It was our family home. So that's where everyone would come. We lived with our grandparents because my mom was predominantly a single mom. So we would live there. We lived there for growing up. So, going to a tight space was definitely different for us.
Yeah. That,
Like very different. And, it caused some rifts, especially with my older sister and I, because at the time you got to, a 14-year-old and a 19-year-old living together. It's not going to be easy in that type of
no.
space.
No,
So
I grew
we had
up
to figure
with
it out
three,
pretty
three
quick.
brothers in a 3-bedroom house. So for most of our lives, it was me and my brother Matt. Pat and Phil had the room. And then we built 2 bedrooms in the basement when we became teenagers, not because we wanted to like remodel the basement. If we didn't put separate, like if we didn't have separate bedrooms as teenagers, one of us was not going to make it through our teens. Like it was just a battle until
Yeah,
we had our own space,
for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So
Um,
you're in this 1 bedroom. Where did you migrate when you came to America? Where did you land?
so
Where did you?
luckily we landed in Media, Pennsylvania.
That's where I'm at right now.
And I'm I do believe your environment matters, right? Like we could have been anywhere, and my life might have turned out a lot differently. But
Sure.
I we went to Media, Pennsylvania, went to Pencrest High School, made a handful of friends that I'm still talk to every day today, right? Like made close relationships there, good people that I've kept in my life this long. And I think that's a lot of that's influenced, kind of who I became, right? Because found the job, I moved here and immediately the soccer coach is like, you're from the Caribbean, you should come play soccer, right? And I'm like, well, I lost our luggage on the way here. And he's like, I'll buy you cleats, man, show up, and
Now wait, did you
so
know how like you were a soccer player? Or he just assumed because of where you're
he
from.
just assumed. He just
That's great.
assumed. And me in the Caribbean is a mid-tier recess pick, right? Like if they're picking kids at recess to play on teams, I'm maybe getting picked somewhere in the middle. I'm not top,
Yeah.
I'm not bottom, and I'm definitely not on the school team, right? And I show up here and he's like, come on over. And this is 2002 soccer in America. So it was still pretty rudimentary. So I did pretty well, but, and had a lot of fun with it. Unfortunately, that fun ended quickly because I realized, man, if I want anything here, I got to get a job.
Yeah.
And so I said to my mom, I'm like, look, sports is cool, but if I want to be able to have a car, and I wanted my independence pretty quickly because again, we went from a pretty big open free situation to living in this 1-bedroom apartment. And I'm like, I can't do this. I gotta get money. I gotta get a car. I have to figure
Yeah.
things out. Right. So
Let me stop you right there. We're going to come back to the job. I do this every time, Will. Like
yeah,
literally, it's become kind of a joke, and I don't mean to. I always forget to do the 2 truths and a lie when we start, and then I have to abruptly stop everything, go back, do the 2 truths and a lie. So I'm going to stop here for a minute. We're going to come back to you're in America, you're 14, 15 years old, 16, you want a car, you want some independence, you want a job. What are your 3 facts? 3 facts, and by the time we're done, I'll try and figure out which one's the lie.
well, I think I kind of gave one away already, but so I'll start with that one. Uh, I moved to America from Trinidad when I was a teenager. So I gave
Okay.
it so that's the truth. I hate chocolate, and I've been choked unconscious during a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu match.
Okay.
I'm going to throw that in since you brought that up earlier.
Jiu-jitsu. How funny is that? I wish Joe was here. Choked out. Okay. So moved to America as a teen, hate chocolate, and choked out at a Brazilian jiu-jitsu match. All right, we'll come back to that. Now, so you're roughly now 16, you're living in media. Where'd you get the job? Like what was your first job?
I kind of did a bunch of different things. I found the landscaping job. I started working at this pet store in media and the guy liked me so much. He was basically paying me to work 40 hours a week as a teenager. I don't want to put anything on record, but he's paying me to stay home from school some days, and I was taking it because $5.15 an hour in 2003 was a lot of money for me because it was US. I'm coming from, a country where it's a 7-to-1 exchange rate. So I'm thinking I'm making $5, $15 an hour. I am loaded, right? Like I'd work 40 hours a week after school and after taxes have a $200 check and think this is the best day of my life. Right. And it was because that's all I knew. And it was great. I mean, I was able to save up. I got a car. I was able to start, driving myself to school.
What kind of
Uh,
car was it?
Good old Chevy Cavalier. Uh, you know, Picked it up on Providence Road Media. There was a guy selling it. And it was great. Dude, that freedom that gave me as a 16-year-old, it was like I had wings, you know.
Yeah, that is great. So now you're graduating. Now, wait, if I'm not mistaken, where'd you go to college?
So I graduated from Pencrest, and at the time, maybe 6 months after I got here, a year after I got here, my guidance counselor is like, "Hey, what do you want to do in college?" And I'm like, "Well, I just learned the metric system. I don't know what I want to do in college. You guys think I speak Spanish, and I'm speaking English just with an accent. So I don't know what I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to be an architect. So I went to community college for a couple years while I was working after high school. I had like 2 or 3 different jobs and was going to community college part time. And ended up getting an associate's degree in business administration. And then I started going to Penn State online, but years later, getting into real estate, I decided I don't think I need this. I have an unfinished business administration degree. I have an associate's, but no bachelor.
I knew there was a Penn State connection. I couldn't remember exactly what the details were. So I graduated Penn State in 2000. So,
Okay.
yeah. So, and you're right. You're where you are right now. You don't need the degree that would have given you.
It's weird because I think anyone that's like slightly or even largely entrepreneurial, there's like a level of ADHD there that we all kind of have, and classrooms really never were for me.
Even
I
in
did,
Trinidad?
yeah. I mean, I tested well because I had to, and Trinidad's a lot different. If you don't do well, you pay for it. There's some different types of punishment there for that. But in America, it wasn't the same. I could kind of BS my way through a lot of these classes, and so I never really thought college was ever going to be for me. But now that I'm like deeply entrenched in business, I really started to gain an appreciation for knowledge, and I frankly think at some point I will probably go back and finish my degree, even though it means nothing for me financially. I've come full circle on the whole schooling thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Now so knowledge, what's your source of knowledge now? What do you listen to? What do you read?
So I prior to the podcast era, because I started full time in real estate in 2015, I basically was YouTube, right? Like I didn't really have the money to pay coaches. So everything I could find on YouTube, I'd watch, and I'd find every informational piece I could about different types of real estate, how to get leads, how to build businesses, all of these different things. And that merged into podcasts. So I think the majority of my knowledge come from ebooks, podcasts. I listen to a ton of different, podcasts about real estate, about investing, just trying to constantly stay ahead of everything or keep at least a current knowledge about what's going on in the industry and where we need to pivot and how we need to grow. So I think that the major source of all of my education currently is through podcasts or audiobooks.
Now, tell me about how did you end up? So you're finishing out. You decide, okay, college isn't for me. Did you do anything between that and real estate?
Yeah. So I had the minute I graduated high school, I wasn't even 18 yet. I found someone that would rent me a room. Right. So I found a guy in Ridley Park that had a 2-bedroom apartment. He worked at one of the jobs I was at and was older. And I said, "Hey, I know I'm not 18 yet, but would you rent me a room?" And he knew me well. He's like, "Sure." Probably should have been a sign that a 25-year-old would rent to a 17-year-old. Probably not the most responsible human, but it only took me 6 months to realize he wasn't paying any of the bills. And but it was my It was my outlet to get out of the house.
Yeah.
And from it during that, obviously I was working on my associate's degree, but I started doing 3 different jobs. I had a waiting job. I was still working at I was still doing landscaping on the side, and I was still working at the pet store a bit, and just hustling as much as humanly possible, like literally going from job to job, getting change in my car. And my mom at the time had worked for a local credit union, Franklin Mid Federal Credit Union. And she's like, look, why don't you get a job here, as a teller or something while you work through everything you're doing. So I took her advice. I got the job as a teller there and I liked it. I liked banking. I moved up fairly quickly, like from teller to, you know, member service representative to assistant branch manager. And then I got into the loan department with them. So I did everything but mortgages. I did home
Okay.
equity loans, lines of credits, auto loans, personal loans. Did really well doing that. Was able to buy my first house at 23 from my $30,000 a year salary, which you can't do anymore. Um, and through all of that, around 25, 26, I always was kind of chasing side hustles, right? Because I knew my 9 to 5 wasn't going to get me where I wanted to go. And I always had that mindset, well, I'll stay here forever. And by the time I retire, I'll make 100 grand and I'll be happy.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't working out. I kept seeing my expenses go up and no, it wasn't paying out in my day to day. And my mom had mentioned that the house we had in Trinidad needed a new roof. And I kind of panicked a little bit and I'm thinking, well, how are we going to pay for this in my head? And I'm thinking this and she goes, well, it'll be paid for. I'm like, you're going to pay for it? She will, no, the tenants are paying for it. I go, what do you mean? She's like, well, I turned it into a 3 unit and there's tenants there and we've been saving the money. So it's going to pay for itself. And
It had to be
at
an
that
eye
point,
opener for you.
yeah, that was kind of there's another way to live life. Right. So at that point, I had just bought my first house with my wife. I was probably 23, 24. And we had a coworker who wanted to rent a room for us. And I'm like, oh, this is paying part of my mortgage. It's pretty nice. I read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, like most investors do.
Yep.
And it's a pretty simple book. It's not some, crazy read. It keeps it very simple. What you should do to try to increase your income from not just your 9 to 5, right? And that took me to, well, I think I should get my real estate license. So I got my real estate license around 2012, part-time. I was still working at the bank. I was still, trying to sell houses to some friends here and there.
Who did you work for in 2012?
At the time, a lady that I worked with at the credit union, had a great lady. I still talk to her to this day. Her name's Helena. She's great. She had her license hung at a Century 21 in Folsom. And
Okay.
that's where I had my initial license hung. And I was 2 years in. This is about 2014. I'd sold a couple homes, didn't make a lot of money. I would go into the office after work, always trying to hustle, and there'd be nobody there. And I saw, like 100+ agents on the board, and there was, I would say, 3 to 10 maybe doing well, making money. There was a couple teams doing really well. And I said, I don't think I could do this. I don't think this is the answer for me. So luckily at the time, a close friend introduced me to my now business partners, and at the time, new brokers, Brett and Scott. They owned a firm, and they owned a Remax in St. David's and on the main line. They asked to meet with me one day. I met with them. They showed me their books. Their average agents were making $250K a year. And this is 2014, and I'm making maybe 50 grand a year at that point.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, oh, people could actually make a living selling real estate. And that again to me was like, okay, I need to be here. So switched my license here. Within a year, I was full time. I quit my job. Just kind of fed off the energy, like iron sharpens iron. I needed to be around people that were doing this at a high level for me to believe I could do it at a high level. And that's when the full-time real estate gig started. It's mid 2015.
Crazy. One of the things you kept saying is the hustle. Like, you're just trying to hustle. You're trying to hustle. When you're young, we look at what are our resources, right? Like, if you don't have any money, you don't have any money. But when you have time, and when time is your only resource, you really have two choices. Do you spend it? Do you waste it? Or do you invest it? And it's the same question with money, right? Like, do you spend it? Do you waste it? Or do you invest it? And I love that, instinctively, you knew early on that time was your only resource. and you invested that time in, well, I guess at first you were spending your time making money, right? Transactional, 1 hour of work, 1 hour of pay, 1 hour of work, 1 hour of pay. And then when you get into real estate, now you're investing your time. Now that 1 hour of work is going to turn into, at some point, multiples in revenue. And that switch went off. When what was your, so this was 2014, you said?
A full time I went was mid 2015. Yeah.
What did do you remember what you closed in 2015?
So, yeah. So I left my job May of 2015. And for the rest of that year, I only closed 6 transactions. And that was painful, because I was working my butt off. I was doing everything, like door knocking,
investing your time,
expires, FISBOs, but not a lot of it was converting to closings. And I think that's a big misconception. A lot of agents come in, and anyone in any new business thinks they're going to come in and they're going to kill it. Unless you have like a very rare situation, which, if you do, great for you. But if you don't, and you're like the rest of us, you got to build a pipeline. And that takes time. And that's what I was doing, not knowing I was doing it, was I was building a pipeline. So towards the end of 2015, I was having a really hard time because I had a mortgage and we had a wedding coming up. And I'm thinking, man, I need to go drive an Uber or do something on the side. And my wife, who's not a business major at all, she's a teacher. She has her master's in teaching. But she said to me, she's like, if you do this, you're not going to pay attention to real estate. Like I don't know what instinctively told her to say that, but I think she knew me pretty well at that point. And she said, I know you're going to do that and you're going to chase that. And I think you just need to focus on this. And she was right. I stuck with it. And 2016, I closed 36 homes. 2017, 40, 2018, 44. 2019, I hired my first assistant. I closed 69. 2020, I did about 70. And at the end of 2020, so 2020 was a really, really big shift in my mindset. I was making a ton of money, which I've never thought I'd ever make in my entire life. Like crazy amount of money, because I only had one assistant. And, at that point I built my business to be pretty strong word of mouth. So I didn't have a lot of expenses. But I was investing in real estate. I started investing in 2017, 2018, and that was a nightmare because I didn't know what I was doing, and I was making every one of the mistakes new investors make. I can write a book about my first 2 investments. And I had just had my first kid in 2019, my daughter, and in 2020, I'm making all of this money, and I'm like the most depressed I've ever been in my entire life. Like, literally hate my life. Like I'm gaining a bunch of weight. I'm not home at all. I'm
not exercising. You're not taking care of yourself.
Nothing. Like nothing.
What was this? What was your? Do you remember what your self-talk was at that time?
I just had to get through it.
What was your inner monologue at that point?
I just had to get through it. Like, because even though I was making a lot of money, I was putting a lot of it back into these investments that were crushing me. So for me, it was, if I don't do this, I'm going to fail. And I can't fail. I can't fail. Everyone thought I was doing well, and I was, but I wasn't using the money wisely. I wasn't using the money the way I should have been using. I was focusing on things I shouldn't have been focusing on.
Like what?
Honestly, real estate investments. And I keep telling people this. I'm an investor. I love investing in real estate. That's my side hustle. If I had solely focused on just selling real estate for the first 5 years of my life for career versus trying to invest in real estate, I'd probably be leaps and bounds ahead of where I am today. I let that shiny object distract me so much, both financially and emotionally, and in a business sense too, that it took years to recover from the mistakes I made early on. And because of that, it slowed me down. Now, it taught me a lot. And I say I paid for it in an education on how not to to do real estate investing. But it crushed me. I mean, I went from a pretty happy, I was positive, good about everything kind of guy to, over a couple of years, just evolving into something that I didn't recognize, I didn't like.
All right. So now, did your wife show up at that point too? Like, Will, like she was she was critical, like at a really critical moment, she gave you that support. Was she also there when she's like, you got to snap out of it?
Yeah, she's always been there, and that's
That's
like,
awesome.
I've never. She's pretty wise. She's wise. She saw where I was going, and she said, "Look, I think you should probably talk to someone," which was something I would have never thought to do in my life. Which really helped me significantly over a few years. She said, you could really, and I did. I took a lot of that advice and I changed it, and it actually changed me significantly from, you know, I still am the same person. I still believe that I am the one responsible for all of my errors, right? Like, I don't blame anyone for anything that happens to me or my business or my life. I believe it's on me and I got to figure it out. But I don't let those errors crush me. I now know that everything is fixable. Like, this too shall pass, and if you're patient and you're willing to work through it, you'll solve every problem. And that has changed my mindset about everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
There's an old proverb, I guess Chinese proverb, that's a story about a farmer and his son. I don't know if you ever heard it, where the son um, loses the horse. The horse runs away, and he goes to his father and he says, "Father, the horse ran away. This is horrible. How are we going to plow the fields? This is the worst thing that could have possibly happened to us." And the father was like, "We'll see, we'll see." And then, a week later, the horse comes back, but he came back with a pack of other horses, and now they have multiple horses. And he's like, "What a blessing! We have all these horses." And he goes to his father, "See, this is great. We have so many horses. This is the blessing." And he goes, "We'll see." Well, he's plowing the fields, and now they're making so much crop that they need to go into the market to sell it because they're growing more than they need. And he's on his way to the market, and he falls off the horse and breaks his leg. And now he can't take the fruit to the market. He says to his father, "This is a disaster. I can't take the food to the market. If we can't take this food to the market, we're not going to be able to sell it. If we can't sell it, we're not going to make any money. This is horrible." And the father says, "We'll see." And then war breaks out, and every able-bodied person gets called to war, but he's not, because he can't walk. And he's like, "Wow, everybody's off to war. And I can't go." I'm sure that I'm like totally butchering it, but it always stuck with me. And when I heard it and how you're talking about it, like, yeah, like, no matter your situation, whether you think it's terrible or you think it's great, this too shall pass. You're going to have trials. You're going to have struggles again. And when you're struggling, you're going to have victories again. And if you kind of just know that and just kind of roll with it, life is a little bit different. It's not easier in any way, but certainly, like, you kind of like have faith that, things are just going to get a little bit better at some point.
I think back to when I was like 22, I applied for a manager position at the bank and I didn't get it. And I was devastated. I'm like, this is the worst. I'm never gonna be able to move up. I'm like, my life's over,
Yeah.
And now looking back on that, I'm like, they would have been an idiot to hire me. Like, I was 22 years old. I shouldn't have been managing a bank, right? Like,
Yeah.
that would have been a horrible mistake by them. And maybe I would have figured it out, but I would have made a ton of mistakes. And that to me is, it's like you said with that fable, the dad felt that way because he's lived it now, right? So he's had the experience of this too shall pass, or we'll see. You never know if it's going to be good or bad. Let's not overreact now. That comes with time, right? And doing things. And not that I'm saying young people can't be successful. I have some really young, hungry people on our team that I think are massively successful. I just think certain life experiences you just have to live through. You can't learn by reading a book or hearing about it, because you won't really know how it's like the Mike Tyson saying, everyone's a tough guy until they're punched in the mouth, right? Yep. And it's like, how you're going to react when you get punched in the mouth. You don't know until you're actually punched in the mouth, right? Yep. So that all kind of ties into the same thing. It's time has shown me that this too shall pass.
And pain, one of my favorite phrases, pain is a very efficient teacher. You don't have to be in pain for very long. Right? I know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So you're growing your business now. In 2019, you did you hire your assistant in 18 or 19?
Hired my assistant in actually probably midway through 2018.
Okay.
So
All
I
right.
would say
And then you had your
2018.
daughter. Now you're building a family, you're
2019.
building a business. At what point did you decide, okay, I really want to build a team?
I didn't. I
Love
didn't.
that.
This was all my mistake. And towards the end of 2020, I was burnt out. Man, I did 69 sales the year before. I was going to do 70 that year. During COVID, through all the chaos, and I just thought I don't enjoy this anymore. I wasn't enjoying really life anymore, and I said, well. One of my past clients reached out. Her name is Kim, and another one, Kirk, kind of reached out around the same time and said, "Hey, Will, we were getting our real estate license, and we'd love to be on your team." And I said,
Like, I don't have a team.
what? Yeah, right. Like, what team? Um,
Yeah.
I never like, I love my brokers businesses where they had these, and I think they're very smart. And I think they're one of the versions of a team that works anymore is a powerhouse team. Like it's them, they're the rainmaker. They have one or two assistants and like they have a showing agent or maybe two or maybe just a buyer's agent. I think that's a really powerful model as a team to build a team on. I like their model, so I always thought that's the route I would go. And with these two people reaching out, I realized something that I really liked. The reason I love selling real estate is because I liked helping people, and I like bringing people together. And when these people joined my team, I really enjoyed helping them. And it like kind of reinvigorated me a bit. It gave me like a new purpose to what I was building, which is one of the great parts about our industry is there's so many ways you can go with it. You're not stuck in one direction. Like you can build all these different things in real estate. You can be an investor, you can run title company, you can be a mortgage lender, you can scale a team, you can become a broker. There's so many different things you can build from the base you get from our industry that I started like enjoying it again. And most of my team has been organic. Most of my team, we're at 30 agents today. Um, most of that are either past clients or friends of agents on the team that have called me to be a part of this. And I've taken on and I really enjoyed helping them grow. And like now when I set goals, it's not what can I make? It's like, how much am I going to get this agent to make this year? Right. Like I have two agents. I want them to clear 500K each this year. Right. Like it's one of
And
my
that's actually,
goals.
they're not that those are real numbers. You have two
Yeah.
agents that you're hoping to get them to 500K a
Yes.
piece. That's
Yes.
awesome.
Yeah. And I have probably 5 that are going to be in that 175 to 250 range. I build our numbers based on where I think my agents are going to succeed. And I'm pushing them because they're a lot like me. They're spending most of their time around me. They're getting coached by me. They are plugging into my system and trusting that I'm going to help them. So I know where I would want to be if I was them. I am going to push them there. Right. And that really is what a lot of people are like, I don't want to build these massive teams. I'm all about it right now because to me, like the more people I can help like that, it's just like the little dose of endorphins, like it's just and happiness. Like that is the happiness. And it's gotten me back to what got me into really like in real estate, which was I was helping people buy these houses. Like their first home was their second home, like helping them invest. Like, that's the joy I get out of it. It's helping people and bringing people together. So now I can do that, not just from selling real estate, which I still do and I still love. It's from helping my agents scale these like incredible businesses, not just on our team, but in our downline too. Like I'm coaching them all to scale. Right.
Now, when you start growing your team, it sounds like, I mean, we're not talking about a long time, so it must have been somewhat exponential, like 2, 7, 10, 20, 30. At what point did you ever think like, wait, I gotta I gotta do some work on myself so that I can be better, be a better leader, be a better coach, be a better, was there a point where you felt like you really needed to invest back in education so that you could be better for your teammates? Or was it just super instinctive? Like you never really took a coaching class. You just knew, okay, here's what I would do in this situation.
Yeah, the first three. So we started the team really January 2021. Um, the agents, the hires, all just kind of happened organically, but I didn't stop learning. Like I kept listening to books. I listen to a lot of my books. I'm driving a lot, so I
Yeah,
don't have
yeah,
time
yeah.
to sit and read. But if I sit down at 9 p.m. to read a book, I'm going to be asleep in 10 minutes. So, I just don't have I
We're
got
so
two young
similar.
kids now. It's like, I can't. So I'll listen to as many podcasts and books as I possibly can. And I kept learning from these things and adding them to my business. I was adding, the weekly trainings, and I added like I was adding the pieces without really being told to do it, just knowing that it had to be done. And a lot of that came at a loss. And I don't think people are really honest about this, but I will be. For 3 years of the team, my income was paying for the team, right? So what I mean by that is, and a lot of teams don't do the math right. They kind of enjoy the vanity of saying I sold $100 million in real estate without saying, well, as the team leader, I had to sell 60 of it to cover the bills,
Yeah.
right? So for a successful team is that the income you're making per transaction off agents is paying the team expenses. And then after that, it's profit. And then it starts paying your expenses. For 3 years of the team, my commission was still going into covering team expenses. Because I was adding these pieces that maybe I might have been early on, but I knew I had to add, right? Like I knew from listening to other teams, nothing I'm doing is original, right? Like I am taking this like pieces of everyone's game and creating my own. That's it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're all doing. So I was putting together my perfect vision of what a team looked like. And that comes at a loss. It came at a loss for me. That meant money from that I was making was going to spend more and more into building this. And again, that's one of those things. It's like, you got to be patient. This too shall pass, right? Like
Yeah.
I had to believe this was going to work because I was investing a ton of money into it and time. Um, and thankfully it is. But for a lot of people, when they think, well, it's become an agent and then start a team, pump the brakes. Like maybe think about if you're just crushing as an individual agent, either stay in that lane or go with like a rock star type team versus this big team. Because between agent number 3 and agent number 20, you might not make any money.
Have you had anybody leave your team?
Mhm.
What's
They were
that
not
like?
At first, I used to take it really personally.
Yeah, I was going to say, you seem like the kind of person that would take that very hard.
Yeah, at first, and I still would probably for most of my agents take it really hard.
Yeah.
But I think like leadership is, understanding that you can't solve everyone's problems. And for a lot of my life, I thought that was my gift, was solving everyone's problems, right? And that becomes a bottleneck. There's only so many problems you can solve, right?
Yeah.
So what I realize is if I give as much as I possibly can, and I give you the coaching and the training and the systems and the leads, and I'm there with you, and it's still not enough for you, then or maybe and it's still not enough for you, then I can't hold that against myself, right? Now the majority. So I would say we're at 30 agents right now. We've probably had 38 agents total over the time we've been on the team. Half of them left the industry. Like half of the 8 I don't have actually just left real estate, right? And one or two of them like have their license somewhere and they might not be doing another left the area. So it's not like, and then one is just here in the office and I'm still coaching him. So like, it's not like I'm losing my major producers, which was really a thing for me. Like when I started the team and these other teams were calling, trying to recruit my agents, I don't do recruiting. I didn't for I just hired a part-time recruiter 2 months ago. I didn't do recruiting before this. So I never really understood. I kind of took it like they're coming at me, they want my guys. But now I'm like, I'm kind of proud about it because my agents would tell me like they're trying to get me, but they got nothing, and it's like, well, we're never leaving you. I know they'll leave me at some point. Like life isn't infinite, but the reality is, as long as I keep offering as much as I humanly can and giving them a realistic way to succeed, which our agents are seeing that light, it's going to make it really hard for them to go anywhere else. I want to like tie that back to something, if you don't mind. So around 2022, our brokerage here was a Remax Classic, and my broker owners at the time, Brett and Scott, were like, well, they were at 15 agents. By the time COVID had dwindled down, they were at 8 agents. And they were like, look,
as a brokerage, you guys were down to 8 agents?
Correct.
Wow.
Yep. And they didn't build this to like build some massive machine. They built it to run their businesses and give agents a place to grow, right? So it was never this was never gonna be the core of their business, but they had it for 40 years, right? So what they said to me, they're like, you're growing your team. Why don't you partner with us and help us grow the brokerage? And I thought, well, that's the next natural step. Maybe I was going to be a broker owner anyway, so why not do that? I couldn't tell you how much I disliked that. I don't want to be a broker owner. And I did it for 3 years with them and around the end of early 2025, our Remax contract, they were hitting us up to renew. And I said to those guys, I'm like, man, I don't like this. Like we grew from 8 to 30 agents. And I said, I don't like it. Like I feel like I'm recruiting
8 to 30, but most of them were your team.
A lot of them were my team. And we really couldn't, like, I didn't feel like the brand, this is no knock on Remax. Remax got me 10 years of my career. I made a lot of money, but I don't really feel like they ever gave me anything. Like I felt like my clients didn't even know I was a Remax agent. They thought I was William Holder Realty, right? So I was like, why are we doing this? Like we're still the one responsible for all the risk as the broker owners, right? Like we're the one taking the liability. Why are we going to sign another 5-year contract? So at that point they gave me the key to say, hey, if you find something better, we'll do it. And for me, one of my biggest fears as a team leader, as a broker owner, is I'm putting all of this work and all of this care into this person. And if they leave, I literally have nothing to show for it. Right. And that's a reality for most brokerages. That is the reality. If you build an agent to be a massive agent and you're an integral part of their success, they leave, well, that's it. Right. And I didn't want to feel like that about my agents, about my team. I didn't want to feel like that because, again, it goes against my core principle, which is I'm doing this to help them. And if them doing well is against my future success, why would I help them? Right. So I decided we needed to change our model completely. And I went from, a typical brick and mortar. We were thinking about going independent. I didn't want to do that again. And we decided to go with Real because of the downline model, right? I wanted a model where if I have an agent that's crushing and they want to start their own team, it's actually more beneficial for me to help them do that, right? Like if my agents, I want it to be as sticky as possible. Yeah, we have title. We have all these things that our agents are making money on. They're recruiting to their downline. If they go off and they start their own team within Real, that as a downline will make me more money from that one person than them just being on my team. Right. And that to me is truly, I have no reason to hold you back. None.
Oh, yeah.
Right. It's like, I'm here for you, whatever it takes. Right. And that's why we made the switch. And that's really when the kind of reins came off because I wasn't being hit with monthly fees per agent to join. So I was able to really just let loose on the team. And it hasn't even been a year. It's been 10 months since we've been with Real, but we've doubled in size as a team. We've doubled. Our office is about 54 agents versus 30 when we left. And I'm just really seeing the potential of this if you're plugged into the right system, right? I think you're going to be a business owner. You're going to run your business the way you want to run it. But if you have nothing holding you back from building your people, the limits aren't there.
I love that alignment because that's, is one of the things that attracted me to Princeton. Is what we were perfectly aligned in our values and in our ideas, our marketing, our vision of what the mortgage project or product should look like, what the experience should be like. And then recently we've realigned revenue models to be even more effective because in a lot of revenue models, I'm going to get technical here on the mortgage side, but like the revenue models either favor the borrower, the owner, or the loan officer. Rarely does it favor all three. Sometimes 2 out of 3 win, and one's a big fat loser. And sometimes that's the borrower. And that is because the company's making too much money or the loan officer is making too much money. Sometimes it's the loan officer because the revenue that is needed to run their business is not enough in the rates that they're providing. So the switch to a line that all three win at the same time is a big deal, and I think that's kind of similar to what you realize with Real. I like that.
Yeah, and look, I did my homework. I wasn't gonna pay all this money for signage and switch everything. I'm not somebody who likes to jump around. I was with Remax for 11 years. I just wanted something that would let me to continue to build what I was building without the reins. And maybe there's other models for other people out there. This was the one for us that worked great. And I'm pretty obsessed with building this team. I mean, I understand that it's like this to me is at least my next 5 years of thought, and all I have is like, how do I add, what new system can we add? What AI can we plug in? Who do we need to bring on? Like, what can I do to continue to empower my agents so that we just, we just have fun with this, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not, it's not, and I know this is a cliche thing to say, but I told you I learned this in 2020. It's not about the money. I made a lot of money in 2020. It's not about the money. I literally did nothing for me. And this is a person that never had money in their life saying money doesn't do anything for you, at least emotionally. It's really about like what I can help other people do and build and grow and how I can help them. And that's like my doses of happiness. And so we're playing that game now.
They chase significance. If you can be significant, I think that, and my buddy Ed Fordyce has a great line. I'm not even going to try and recite it because I'll butcher it, but he does talk about the power of significance. All right, couple questions. Number one, what's your favorite podcast? It's okay if it's Selling the Dream. You're allowed to say that.
This will be now. I one for business. I like the Founders podcast.
Okay.
It's this guy. I mean, I've probably said this a few times now, but he basically reads like biographies or interviews history of greatest founders and like summarizes it in an hour and a half podcast, and it's been awesome. So I love that podcast. And then just for fun, I love Pardon My Take. I love sports, but I love the stupid part of sports, like I don't like to overthink it. So just that's my like comic relief weekly. And then I have probably 30 others, but I think those are the two that probably get the most play.
What's your favorite book you listen to for real estate agents?
For real estate agents, probably, I mean, I guess, honestly, I think Rich Dad Poor Dad is important for real estate agents because you should be investing. You should be working in what you do. But I think I've listened to like Entertainment While is the Child Thief, A Million Little Pieces, The Hot Zone. Those are fun books to read. If you're thinking business, The Psychology of Money, if you're looking to build a team, the $1 million team, I think is what it's called. Like there's so many great books out there that I've listened to. There's one that really changed my business called Traction.
Traction. It's a great one. If you're not, I might.
Yeah. That really showed me like how to set up the business, right? Like how I should be thinking about it, how I should structure it. That was a good one for me too.
All right. So now we got 2 truths and a lie. We're going to wrap up with that. I already know one of them, but they were moved to America as a teenager. You hate chocolate. And one time you were choked out in a Brazilian jiu-jitsu match. I'm going to say the lie is chocolate. I think you probably love chocolate. And I do think you were also choked out in a Brazilian jiu-jitsu match. So that's my guess. Am I right?
Yeah, I didn't want to make it too easy, but yeah, I thought the chocolate one would be too silly that you'd be like, maybe he does hate chocolate. No, I love chocolate, but who doesn't, right? Unfortunately, I like your co-host that's not here today. I enjoy jiu-jitsu. I don't do it nearly as much as I used to, but earlier on, 12 years ago, I was I lost the match and I woke up on the mat. So
Nice. Now, how much of your time training in jujitsu, what do you feel like that contributed to a lot of your mindset, setting goals, doing hard things, doing things when you don't feel like doing them? Do you feel like that contributed to some of your turnaround?
I wouldn't say it contributed to my business turnaround because I started jiu-jitsu fairly young. I was
Okay.
probably 20, 21, maybe 22 when I took it up. And I went heavy for about 5 years. And then the last 10 years has been more casual, a more
Yeah.
drop-in kind of guy. I wish I had more time, but I will. And it's one of my things I'm going to do in my 40s is get my black belt, right? But so the what it did for me was I was a pretty angsty teenager. I was angry, and I had fun, but I would get in a lot of fights. And I think jujitsu leveled me.
Okay.
Once I started that, I realized literally anybody can kill me. My master was like a 135-pound guy who was, in his late 40s at the time, and I'm a 21-year-old healthy, strong guy, and he would just toy with me on the mat, and I'm like, oh, anyone can kill me, like literally anyone.
Yeah, it's
And
a realization like, wait, maybe I
yeah,
shouldn't be such a wise
yeah.
ass.
And I think it really grounded me.
Yeah.
I'm a much better person from it. I recommend it for everyone, and it just gives you that like inner confidence to just be calm. I think that's helped with that. I don't know what it did. Maybe the calmness helps in business, but I think just from a personal standpoint, that helped me with that.
Cool. Well, listen, man, I had a lot of fun today. Thank you for being so open and answering, allow me to interrupt to ask the questions
Sure.
that are burning. And hopefully you had fun, and hopefully we'll have you on again soon.
Yeah, I really appreciate you guys having us on. And if anyone ever wants to pick my brain or needs any advice or just wants to chat about real estate, feel free to reach out.
Cool, man. Appreciate you. Well.
Also, Ken, thanks.